Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. Carl Jung said that. Let that settle for a moment. Think of the last time someone got under your skin. Maybe it was a friend who lied or a colleague who took credit for your work. Did you feel anger? Did you judge them even silently? Now ask yourself, why did it bother you so much? What if I told you that what you hate in others is often a mirror for something you reject in yourself? This isn't just philosophy, it's psychology. Jung called it the shadow. The shadow is every part of you that you deny, ignore, or push away. It's the anger you hide, the envy you pretend you don't feel, the weakness you never admit. The shadow forms early. As children, we learn what is acceptable. We're told to be polite, to be good, to be strong, so we hide the parts that don't fit. We bury our jealousy, our fear, our sadness. We pretend to be someone we're not. But those parts don't disappear. They wait in the dark, shaping our choices. Have you ever snapped at someone for being lazy, then felt guilty for your own procrastination? Or judged someone for being selfish, while secretly wishing you could put yourself first? This is the shadow at work. It's not evil, it's human. Psychology calls this projection. We project what we dislike in ourselves onto others. A study from the University of Michigan found that people who harshly judge others often struggle with the same traits. The more we deny our flaws, the more we see them everywhere. The shadow grows stronger the more we ignore it. It becomes the unseen force in our lives. It shapes our reactions, our choices, our relationships. It's why you might attract the same kind of toxic friend again and again, or why you sabotage your own success. The shadow is not just a theory, it's a pattern. It's the reason you keep repeating old mistakes. It's the voice that whispers you're not good enough. It's the feeling that you're always fighting yourself. Most people never see their shadow. They blame others, they blame the world, but the truth is, what you hate, you become. Jung warned us about this. He saw it in his patients, he saw it in himself. The more you fight your shadow, the more it controls you. The more you deny your anger, the more it leaks out. The more you hide your fear, the more it drives your choices. The shadow is like a silent partner in your life. It doesn't care if you ignore it. It just waits. And when you least expect it, it takes over. Have you ever lost your temper and shocked yourself? Or acted out of character and wondered, where did that come from? That's your shadow stepping in. It's not just you. Surveys show that 70% of people admit to acting in ways they later regret. Most say they don't know why. But psychology does. The shadow is always there, shaping your fate. The parts you hate in yourself are the parts you can't escape. You can try to run. You can try to hide. But the shadow follows. It shows up in your relationships. It shows up at work. It shows up when you're alone. It's the reason you criticize others. It's the reason you feel stuck. The shadow is not a monster. It's a message. It's a call to look within, to ask, what am I running from? What am I afraid to see in myself? The journey begins with honesty, with seeing the parts you've hidden, with admitting, I am not perfect, I have flaws, I have wounds, but I am still worthy. This is not easy. Most people avoid it their whole lives, but the cost is high. You become what you hate. You repeat the pain you refuse to heal. You pass it on to others, you pass it on to your children. Studies show that unhealed trauma repeats across generations. The shadow is not just personal, it's collective. It shapes families, it shapes cultures, it shapes history, but it can be changed. You can face your shadow, you can choose a new path, you can heal what you hate. But first, you have to see it. You have to admit, I have a shadow. I have denied parts of myself. I have judged others for what I fear in me. This is the first step, the step most people never take. But you can. You can break the cycle. You can choose awareness over denial. You can choose honesty over blame. The journey is not easy, but it is worth it. Because what you don't face, you become. And what you face, you can heal. This is your invitation. To look within. To see your shadow. To start the journey. To become whole. Are you ready to see what you've been running from? Think back to your earliest memories. What did your family praise and what did they quietly ignore? As children, we learn quickly which parts of us get love and which get silence. Maybe you were told not to cry, to be strong, or to stop making a scene. Or maybe you felt invisible, your feelings brushed aside as unimportant. This is where the shadow begins, right in the heart of childhood. Family, school, and society all teach us what's acceptable. We start to hide the parts of ourselves that don't fit those rules. If you were sensitive, maybe you toughened up to survive. If you were loud, maybe you learned to shrink yourself to keep the peace. The shadow forms as we stuff away the traits that threaten our place in the group. According to Jung, these hidden parts don't disappear. They wait. Parental pressure shapes not just what we do, but who we become. Some of us try to live up to those expectations, chasing approval. Others rebel, doing the opposite just to prove we're different. Either way, we're still reacting to the shadow cast by our upbringing. Psychological research shows that children who feel overshadowed by parents often struggle to find their own identity. The shadow isn't just about what we hide. It's about what we never get to explore. Childhood emotional neglect can leave deep marks. Studies show it leads to depression, anxiety, low self-esteem, and trouble with intimacy as adults. When our feelings are dismissed, we learn to dismiss ourselves. We grow up not knowing how to deal with our emotions. We become adults who feel empty, numb, or disconnected. We may shun closeness or withdraw from friends, not knowing why. Suppressing emotions isn't harmless, it's dangerous. Suppression can lead to unhealthy behaviors, chronic stress, and even physical illness. The body keeps the score even when the mind forgets. Emotional suppression causes headaches, tension, and weakens the immune system. It creates a cycle. What we hide comes out in other ways. Maybe you find yourself snapping at loved ones or feeling exhausted for no reason. Maybe you can't explain why you keep making the same mistakes. These are the hidden drivers at work, the wounds and beliefs you picked up as a child. Jung said, "Nothing exerts a stronger psychic effect upon the human environment and especially upon children than the life which the parents have not lived." Sometimes we carry our parents' unfinished dreams or unresolved pain. We inherit more than genes. We inherit psychic legacies. If your parents never felt safe to express anger, you might hide yours too. If they feared failure, you might avoid risks. As adults, we may feel an inner conflict, torn between who we are and who we think we should be. We limit our self-expression, afraid of being rejected. This is the cost of early conditioning. We spend our first 20 years deciding what to put in the bag, and the rest of our lives trying to get it out again. The shadow isn't evil. It's a collection of disowned parts. These parts can be sources of pain, but also of growth and strength. But first, we must see them. The first psychological law is this: what is unconscious becomes fate. If we don't make our hidden wounds conscious, they will direct our lives. We'll call it fate or bad luck or someone else's fault. But really, it's the shadow running the show. Unconscious patterns repeat until we bring them into the light. The shadow's power is greatest when we refuse to see it. It acts out through our choices, our relationships, our health. We might wonder why the same problems keep happening, why we keep attracting the same kind of pain. The answer lies in what we haven't faced. The shadow is the sum of our early wounds and learned defenses. It's the voice that says, "Don't show weakness," or "Don't be too much," or "You'll only get hurt if you're honest." These beliefs are not facts. They're survival strategies from childhood. They helped us then but hurt us now. To break free, we must understand where they came from. We must ask, whose voice is this really? Is it mine or something I learned to survive? The journey to healing begins with this question. The shadow is not your enemy, it's your teacher. It shows you what still needs love and attention. The parts you hide are the parts that hold your power. Childhood conditioning shapes the shadow, but awareness can set you free. The next step is to see how these hidden drivers play out in your life today. To notice the patterns, the triggers, the moments you feel most reactive. This is the work of making the unconscious conscious. It's not easy, but it's the only way to change your fate. Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." You have the power to break the cycle, to face your shadow and reclaim the parts you lost. This is not about blame, it's about understanding, about seeing how childhood, family, and society shaped your inner world, about recognizing the hidden drivers behind your choices, and about choosing finally to become conscious. The shadow's origin is not your fault, but its healing is your responsibility. You are not doomed to repeat the past. You can bring your shadow into the light. You can choose awareness over fate. The journey continues as you learn to see what drives you from within. Are you ready to face the hidden drivers of your life? Let's talk about projection, the silent trap that turns our hidden pain into someone else's problem. Imagine you're at work feeling anxious about your own performance. Instead of facing that anxiety, you start criticizing a colleague for being lazy or unreliable. You genuinely believe it's their fault, but deep down it's your own insecurity talking. This is projection, when we unconsciously attribute our unwanted feelings or traits to others. It's not rare, it's something almost everyone does, often without realizing it. In relationships, projection is even more common. Maybe you accuse your partner of not caring when you're the one pulling away, or you suspect them of lying while you're the one hiding something small. These moments create confusion and distance, not just for you, but for everyone involved. Psychological research shows projection is often linked to low self-esteem. When we don't feel good enough, it's easier to see flaws in others than face our own. For example, someone insecure about their looks might criticize others' appearances, or a boss who fears being seen as weak might call their team soft or unmotivated. It's a defense mechanism meant to protect our ego from uncomfortable truths. But instead of protecting us, it traps us in denial and blame. The more we deny our own flaws, the more we see them everywhere else. We become hypersensitive to the very traits we can't accept in ourselves. And think of the friend who always accuses others of gossiping but is the first to spread rumors. Or the partner who constantly suspects cheating while struggling with their own guilt. These aren't just quirks. They're clues to what we're avoiding inside. Projection distorts reality. It convinces us that the problem is always out there, never within. This is the trap. We lose the chance to grow because we're too busy defending ourselves. Denial keeps us stuck. We repeat the same arguments, the same complaints, the same pain. In the workplace, projection can poison the atmosphere. A team member who feels overlooked might accuse others of being cliquish. Someone stressed at home might blame their boss for being too demanding. These patterns lead to conflict, mistrust, and lost productivity. In families, projection is just as damaging. Parents who feel like failures may criticize their children's choices. Siblings may fight over imagined slights, when really they're wrestling with their own insecurities. In romantic relationships, projection can be devastating. We blame our partners for our own unhappiness, thinking if they just changed, we'd be okay. But the real battle is inside us. The more we project, the more disconnected we feel from ourselves and from others. Studies show that projection is a major cause of breakups and ongoing conflict in couples. It erodes trust, intimacy, and understanding. The cost isn't just lost relationships, it's lost self-worth and peace. The more you fight your shadow, the more it takes over. Projection is a way of running from yourself, but you can't outrun your own mind. The trap is subtle. It feels safer to blame than to look inward. But every time you point a finger, you lose a chance to heal. The cost is real. Broken trust, missed opportunities, and a life lived on repeat. Psychological projection keeps you from seeing your true self. It blocks growth, connection, and real self-esteem. You can't change what you won't admit. The first step is to notice your triggers. When you feel a strong reaction, ask, is this really about them, or is it about me? Research shows that self-awareness can break the cycle of projection. When you own your feelings, you stop blaming others for your pain. You start to see people as they are, not as mirrors for your wounds. This is the path to peace. It's not easy, but it's possible. The cycle of projection ends when you choose honesty over denial. When you take responsibility for your feelings, you reclaim your power. You stop becoming what you hate. You start becoming who you truly are. The journey isn't about perfection, it's about awareness. Every time you catch yourself projecting, you have a choice. You can keep blaming or you can look inside. The cost of staying stuck is too high. Relationships suffer. Your self-worth suffers, your peace suffers, but you can break the cycle. You can choose to see your shadow not just in others, but in yourself. You can choose to heal one honest moment at a time. The trap of projection is real, but so is your power to step out of it. The next step is awakening, learning how to see, accept, and integrate what you've denied. Are you willing to look in the mirror, not just at others, but at yourself? Are you ready to stop the cycle and reclaim your peace? You can choose a new way. You can choose to see, to heal, to grow. The cycle ends when you say, "This is mine. I own it." That's when real change begins. That's when you stop becoming what you hate. Are you ready to break the trap and step into your true self? Picture this. You spend years trying to be the good person, always saying the right thing, always hiding what you really feel. But underneath, resentment builds like steam in a sealed pot. You smile on the outside, but inside you're boiling with anger or envy you never admit. This is how hypocrisy is born, not out of malice, but out of self-denial. You condemn others for flaws you secretly carry. You preach patience, yet snap at your family the moment stress hits. You call out dishonesty, but tell yourself white lies every day. Research shows people dislike hypocrites more than liars because hypocrisy feels like a betrayal of trust. When your actions and words don't match, people sense it, and so do you. This gap breeds guilt, anxiety, and a deep sense of disconnection. Passive aggression is another mask the shadow wears. Maybe you avoid conflict but leave sarcastic comments or silent treatments in your wake. You don't yell, but your resentment leaks out in sighs, slammed doors, or forgotten promises. Studies show passive-aggressive behavior is strongly linked to depression and dysfunctional self-monitoring. The more you suppress anger or disappointment, the more it turns inward, fueling self-criticism and sadness. Burnout is the next stage. When you spend so much energy hiding your true feelings, you have nothing left for yourself. Chronic stress from living inauthentically makes you sick, tired, and numb. You start to feel like a stranger in your own life. Self-betrayal is at the heart of this cycle. When you ignore your needs to please others, you abandon your own values and lose your sense of self. Surveys show that people admit to betraying themselves at work and in personal relationships. Most describe it as a negative state. Not accepting myself, losing myself, acting against my conscience. This inner conflict is exhausting. It's like fighting a war on two fronts. one with the world and one with yourself. The unintegrated shadow takes over when you refuse to face it. Jung warned, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. The parts you reject begin to run your life from the background. You sabotage relationships, jobs, and dreams without even knowing why. You become the very thing you swore to fight against. The critic becomes the source of criticism. The peacekeeper becomes the source of tension. The helper becomes resentful and withdrawn. Ignoring the shadow is like signing an invisible contract to be ruled by what you refuse to face. The shadow doesn't disappear. It finds new ways to express itself, often destructively. You might develop anxiety, depression, or compulsive habits that make no sense on the surface. You wonder, why do I keep ending up here? The answer is always the same. What you don't face, you become. This is not fate. It's the unconscious running your life. Hypocrisy, passive aggression, and burnout are all symptoms of this inner war. They damage trust, both with others and with yourself. Betrayal, whether of yourself or by others, leads to trauma, anxiety, and loss of self-worth. Studies show that feeling betrayed increases the odds of mental distress by 2 to 4 times. Self-betrayal creates cognitive dissonance. Your heart and head are at odds, and anxiety is the result. You might stay in toxic relationships, ignore red flags, or silence your own needs just to keep the peace. Over time, you lose touch with what you truly want. Your life becomes a series of reactions, not choices. Criticism loses its sting because you're no longer a slave to perfection. You become more genuine, more secure, more at peace. The people around you feel the difference. Some draw closer, others drift away. This is part of the process. Integrating the shadow purifies not just you, but your environment. Jung taught, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. True maturity comes from this courageous confrontation with yourself. True strength emerges when you stop fleeing from your own soul. But you don't have to walk this path alone. Support and guidance can help you carry the weight. The cost of ignoring your shadow is too high to pay forever. Every day you delay, the shadow grows stronger, the consequence is deeper. But every step toward self-awareness is a step toward freedom. The mirror effect is relentless, but it's also your greatest teacher. What you see in others is a map to what you need to heal in yourself. The journey is hard, but the reward is wholeness. You are not doomed to become what you hate unless you choose not to see it. The shadow is waiting for you to turn inward, to listen, to integrate. The next step is transformation, turning pain into power and shame into self-knowledge. Are you ready to break the cycle and reclaim your life? The choice is yours. Face your shadow or be ruled by it.